How you doing?
How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm realizing that I have like real quarantine hair going on.
Oh, dude, I'm right there with you. I'm like straight hats and beanies
Yeah,
nowadays, man.
I've been doing a lot of hats. I feel like the thing is like m- the amount of mirrors I look into a day is usually like if I'm gonna go see other people and I'm like, do I look crazy? Like, am I gonna look crazy when I see this person? And I don't see anybody now, and so I never look in a mirror.
Have you made a decision of if you're gonna try to give yourself the home haircut or if you're gonna ride it out?
My girl wants to cut my hair, which
Okay,
which I, maybe like
that's a special level of trust.
I don't. Here's the deal. I trust her, but I don't want to set her up for like giving me a haircut that I hate and me being like angry.
Yeah, it's
Right? You
bad.
know what I
It's
mean?
like when you get a gift and you have to pretend like you like it, but it's like on your head.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah. I mean, at some point, or maybe like depending on like I might call my hairdresser and go like, have you been quarantining? Do you want to come over? Do you want to come over in gloves and a mask and cut my hair while I'm wearing gloves and a mask? Like that might be the because we're going on. I've been quarantined for like 5 weeks,
Yeah,
so depending on that, I mean, if my hairdresser's been quarantined for 5 weeks and he's protective about it, maybe we'll see.
we might see like a speakeasy barbershops before the end of this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah,
So thank you very much for doing this, and congratulations on just these numbers that the new single is doing. I'm sure you already
thanks.
know, but my contribution to this chat, I'm not asking any questions. These are all fans, but I did want to congratulate you on it. It's the fastest streaming for the video, and it's going up the charts at radio. So just congratulations on all that.
Thanks very much, bro. It really means a lot. It's also like it's not a brand new song for me, which I think is sort of it makes it that much more special in a certain way. You know what I mean? I think like sometimes you put a song out and you know it dies down and you think like I guess that's all that song had in it, and so it's been really fun to watch this song have like a second life.
Yeah, right on.
It's really cool.
Cool. So these questions come from fans all across the country. They all submitted for their respective local radio stations. And I don't have full names, but we got first names here. Michael's going to kick things off. Who is your favorite artist? And Michael doesn't specify in terms of right now or all time, but maybe we can go with both of those.
My favorite musical artist, which I'm assuming is the field of artists that he's talking about. I'm assuming he's not like curious about how much I love Rembrandt. My favorite musical artist, I mean, all time is the Beatles. That's like a group that I can listen to, forever, forever, forever. But this year, my favorite artist is Feist, the band
Oh,
Feist.
yeah,
Yeah,
right on. From Toronto, right?
I actually don't. I haven't done my research on where Feist is from, but
That's
I
awesome.
love Feist.
Yeah, good stuff. Danny wants to know, how did you start in the music industry?
Well, I started making music. I got really into Green Day when I was like 11, and that made me want to make music at all. And so I started sort of teaching myself piano and guitar and trying to write some songs. And my parents were very supportive and helpful with that. Just like my mom has like written songs my whole life, so she sort of explained like the difference between a chorus and a bridge and like just sort of song structuring stuff. And my dad played some piano, taught me some piano chords. Mom played some guitar, taught me some guitar chords. And then I formed like bands with my best friends in high school, which was a real treat. But as far as like the industry side, that all kind of started on the heels of starting to produce music for my sister. And then when we put Ocean Eyes out, it got picked up by the blog Hilly Dilly and then a bunch of other blogs. And that was sort of our that was when we started having like meetings and stuff in the quote unquote industry.
Right, right on. Raul wants to know, are you working on music during quarantine at all?
Yeah, I mean that's literally like that's all I'm doing right now is working on music, which is I mean that and like Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't talked about this much, but the first like 10 days of quarantine, I'm pretty sure I had coronavirus, like a very mild case of it, but I did have all the symptoms in their mild form. I had like a shitty cough. I had like a fever. I had difficulty breathing. I was fatigued. I was achy. The only thing I didn't really have was like loss of taste and smell. So I felt really bad for like 10 days. But but now I feel great, and so I've been making a lot of music.
Nice. Do you
It's
almost
really
feel like you were like oddly prepared because so much has been said and written about, how you guys do everything in the house
right.
at home, and like, now did you find that you were very well prepared for quarantine life?
Well, yeah, I mean, many ways. I mean, my creative process with Billy and my creative process on my own music, those two things have not been altered, which is, we're just lucky in that
Yeah.
sense. And, I think due to the nature of this, assuming there is an eventuality where we get back to normalcy, like, if you think about it, whenever that day really comes, whenever there's like a vaccine or we've really tested the antibody, we know exactly who has it and who doesn't. That's going to be the busiest year of everyone's life ever. That's going to be like the third lap of a Mario Kart game where the music is playing twice as fast. And like, so I think we're trying to now that we know we're in this sort of period of like, isolation, we're like, all right, well then we have to make the record now because, it's not like if we sit around and play video games the whole time, then when it all comes back online, we'll then have time to make an album. I mean, in weird ways, like other than the panic and the tragedies of people getting sick and people dying from this, in terms of my actual daily life, like since 2015, I haven't had this much time to actually sit and write music and play music. There's been so much travel. There's been so many, video shoots. There's been, it's just life gets crazy. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to just kind of be like, well, listen, I wouldn't choose this year. I wouldn't choose these things, but in dealing with them, I'm gonna try to appreciate the silver linings of it.
Yeah, there is if you are to try to find that silver lining or the beauty within all of this, all the terrible things that are happening. I think it is that lack of distractions. The clarity that I think is
So true.
we're all being given is really cool.
So true.
Let's get to Sammy. Sammy wants to know, hey Phineas, are you going to launch any merch?
Yes, actually, and I'm so glad Sammy brought that up because I have an email in my inbox from my manager that I need to reply to, looking at merch designs and talking about mood boards and stuff. I don't know how you are. I'm really bad about checking my email. I'm not a good email correspondent. I'm pretty good with text, but emails I suck. So
how many email accounts do you have? Like I've started to like taper off where I'm like, this one has just been overrun by whether it's spam or whether it's just emails I don't want. Then you have like the private one. Do you turn them off?
I have two. And the goal is like one of them is like the catch-all where I get like emails from like Amazon and eBay and whatever. And then the other one is the like only my team has this email address. And so I'll respond to it, but I still here's the devil of it. I years ago, out of some effort to be zen, turned off all of my notification badges on my phone. So like, when you look at your home screen and you see like the notification from your messages and the notification that you have a voicemail and the 400 notification on your email and like I turned it all off. And so I like look at my phone and I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then I open the app and it's like you're walking into a room and there's like a riot. But that's my own, torture.
Yeah. Totally. I feel your pain, man. This next one says, what has been your favorite performance that you've ever done? They love you and Billy with all their heart, they say. But favorite performance?
Favorite performance? I have a couple different like types of performance. So like one of my all-time favorite performances I've ever gotten to do was Billy and I played Lollapalooza back in 2018. It wasn't like a headliner slot or anything. We played like 5 or 6 p.m., but it was like the sunset slot, which is like
nice.
the best slot.
Yeah,
and
it's
it
a killer
was just
slot.
A huge crowd, and Lollapalooza is an incredible, incredible festival. And I'd had so much fun like going to that festival that year. And it was really cool to play. That was like probably my favorite with Billy ever, although we've played a lot of shows that I've been like, wow, that's a greatest. We played Red Rocks. That was awesome. But that show that felt like an arrival in many ways. And then solo, I have a weird answer. When you live in LA, part of the issue is your hometown show, like when you tour, often is like 50% industry. And so like industries, like I love my friends in the industry, but they're not like the greatest crowd. They're not like
Right.
moshing, whatever. They
Yeah.
just sort of stand there like this. And so someone on my team had this great idea when I was doing my tour last year. They were like, you should do a show for only industry, and then they won't come to your other show. And then your other show could be like real, like hometown, like friends, family, just audience. It'll be great. And so I was like, okay, cool. So we rented out a jazz club called the Tellos in Toluca Lake. And it was like seated, and we served everybody dinner, and I did like a cocktail set. I did like just me on keys and guitar. And I spent like the whole show making fun of the audience. Like that was like I just riffed for like an hour. I probably played like 6 songs and talked for like 55 minutes. And it was just really fun. So that's like my favorite solo show.
That's awesome. When you the question of like favorite show of all time, favorite performance, like when you get off stage at a Lala or when you leave, that particular venue that night, do you immediately know like that's my favorite, or do you need the sort of the 2020 of hindsight to look back, months, if not years later?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was just thinking about that as we were talking about it. Like I think my quantification is like how I'm feeling on stage in the moment. Like sometimes like I can watch a show back later, like on video, and I feel like, oh, that was, we did well in that show. But I think it's usually to do with like how present I am in the show, how my body's feeling, how the crowd is feeling to look at and interact with, how my energy with Billy is feeling. Usually like during, I feel like that's like the benchmark is like how I'm feeling actually on stage during the show.
You ever been in a situation where like the crowd is just losing their minds? Like maybe you think, oh my God, that was one of the best crowds ever, but you just personally, for whatever reason, like didn't feel awesome?
All the time, which is so bizarre.
Right.
And it's the nature of being so spoiled with Billy, is that her audiences are so good that like, especially like as a dude who was like played in like my loser band when we were young, like I'm very aware that like every Billy crowd is like the greatest crowd of all time of your life, except that Billy gets that like literally every night.
Right.
And so it's so easy to get spoiled. It's crazy.
Do you guys ever talk about that in terms of like, let's say you're not, you, or you're not Billy, and you're just like a typical artist that, if you do a good job, you're going to get a great the craziest show ever. How do you gauge like if you're improving or getting better as a performer?
The crowd, that's so funny. I said to our drummer, actually before our Lollapalooza performance back in 2018, I said, he was like, wow, that was great. And I was like, it was, but like, Billy could just walk out on stage and pour propane everywhere and set the whole thing on fire. And the crowd would be like, that was great. And, it's funny in that world, but I would say that like, you still pick up on the nuances of it, right? You do.
Yeah.
If you, it's a little bit like gymnastics, like the way that like watching a gymnastics performance feels to me, like when they stick the landing, and the crowd's just like, yes, like you just know. Yeah. And that's definitely like how it feels being on stage. Like if you stick the landing of something, the crowd is like even more exuberant.
Right on. This question says, what inspired you to name your EP Blood Harmony?
Well, the straight ahead answer is that Blood Harmony was a term I heard from Phil Taggart, who's a DJ on BBC, and he was using it to describe like when people who are related to each other sing together, and that like if you're related to somebody, your voice just blends better than it ever otherwise could, like because you literally have like the same DNA in your like vocal cords and your larynx. And he described it as blood harmony, and I think like in many ways like that's how I've functioned in terms of my relationship with Billy musically, is that I'm like this collaborator that's like really just an extension of her because I'm her brother or whatever. And so I was sort of like labeling myself the blood harmony, but I think also like on an abstract level, like I like those two words. Like if something's harmonious, it means it's like it's working well with something else. It's cohesive. And I like, like if something requires blood, it's like requires a sacrifice, it requires like, toil. So I liked the idea of something being like a struggle and also harmonious.
Yeah, there's like a dichotomy almost to it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good word to use.
This next one says, how does being an actor influence your songwriting process?
Well, it influences my collaborative songwriting, I think, more than anything else, right? If I'm like gonna write a song for somebody else, I'm like playing them for a day a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm working on that right now with a song for somebody where like my hope is that nobody would think that I wrote this song because it feels like they wrote it. But
Oh, interesting. Okay.
you know what I mean? Like I think that's kind of my goal, is like to disappear into like their story and their song, you know?
Would the same go for the sonics of the song if you were producing it as well? Like, do you want like
Yeah.
a patented sound? Like, oh wow,
Yeah.
FINNEAS worked on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think my goal is to like, like, you know, this sounds like it might sound arrogant, but my goal, whether or not I achieve this ever, is like to not have people know that I did something, to just have them like it. You know what I mean? Where
Right.
like if I worked on one song on somebody's album, my goal is like that they'd be like, "That's my favorite song," and they'd look it up and it'd be like me, but they wouldn't know. Because sometimes you can like really tell. Like
Oh yeah,
I love Pharrell, but like I can usually tell that he did something.
yeah. Or like an
'Cause he's,
Antonov. That's like for
yeah,
me.
because
I'm like,
they're so stylish and they're so cool, but like I always want to be like just helping artists like be themselves and like not really like fucking with them.
you ever find like when they come to you, they want a specific thing, or maybe a traditional FINNEAS thing, and
Yeah.
you're bummed almost because you want to do something different with them.
Yeah, I mean that definitely happens, and usually I try to pick and choose projects that I know will require something different from me. You know what I mean? Like I was saying this to my girlfriend yesterday. It's like, you know, like the thing as a producer, especially, that excites me the most is like any road I've not taken. So like I've now done a lot of like piano vocal ballads with myself, with Billy, with a couple other artists, and I love them. And there's never going to be a point where people don't want them. Like everybody loves a great ballad. If it's a love song, if it's a song about heartbreak, everybody loves it if it's great. But as a producer, that feels easy to me. Like I go like, I know how to do this. And if I get a song where I'm like, wow, I get to reinvent the wheel here and like completely change this, that's just like, that's something that I'm more excited about.
Yeah.
But I love both.
Yeah. Do you have like a personal test or like a barometer that you or people you collaborate with, you'll put a song through when you're developing it? Like I've talked to rock bands that they call it like the campfire test. They'll play, if it doesn't sound good, you know, if it doesn't sound good on acoustic, it's not a great song. Or some people, you know, they have to listen to it in a car, you know, to
Right.
test it. Do you have something like that that's a constant throughout your process?
I don't so much. I think those are all good philosophies, and one of the ways that I try to achieve that in general is like 90% of the time when I write a song, I'm writing it in that way. I'm writing it at a piano or at a guitar, and so by default it'll sound fine at those like bass levels. Yeah, I mean I listen to everything I work on in the car when I drive around. I really know how my car sounds. I listen to all of it on the same pair of like headphones. I listen to all of it on like AirPods. Like I'm a big like listen to it on a bunch of different platforms. Like listen to it on like on your iPhone speaker when you're brushing your teeth. You know, listen to it everywhere. And then, you know, to me it's always the people test, right? Like if I play something for my girlfriend, I love her taste in music. I love the same music she loves, and so if she loves the song I did, I can tell.
Yeah.
You know? If she's not that into it, I can tell.
Yeah. Two quick questions, and we'll let you go, FINNEAS. This says, before producing, what is one thing you've always wanted to do?
I like that question. That's funny, man. I mean, I'm one of those people that's like, you know when you talk to like somebody in their like 40s, 50s, and they've lived like 16 lives. Like they're like, yeah, that was the period of time where I lived in Canada and built houses. And you're just like, when did you fit that in? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm always like so impressed by people like that. And, you know, like I know I'm like technically young to be where I am in many ways, but it's honestly only because I've always been trying. Like since I was like 11 years old, I've been like, I want to do that. So, you know, I mean, like, on an abstract level, really wanted to be a cowboy at like 5. Like really like wore chaps and spurs and like wanted to be a cowboy. But that's kind of like it. Like that's, you know, like it's pretty much just music.
So if the music thing doesn't work out, are you headed out west?
Getaway driver, yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna have like a coach and horses, and I'm gonna have like coins. I'm gonna go to the bank and exchange all my money for like gold, like dollar coins, and just keep them in bags and bury them in the desert. It's gonna be great.
I guess in all seriousness though, like you talk about those people who've lived multiple lives, and I'm like you, like I think that's the coolest thing you can do. If your passions and interests take you that way, do you see yourself making music, kind of, putting it to bed when you've accomplished all you've wanted?
I think I'll make music my whole life. I think the fun part I'm now realizing about the world of making music is that it is so broad. So like, I would love to write or be in a musical at some point in my life, which I think falls into the world of like making music. I would love to score films. I would love to form a record label at some point and help develop young artists and give them the support that I was given by people like Justin Lubliner, who runs Billy's label, John Janik, who runs Interscope. I'd love to facilitate different aspects of it. But, I'm obsessed with music, so I'm sure I'll always do it. I think I definitely have in my life plans, assuming everything works out relatively well, like I'm sure like by the time I'm a parent, my main goal is to just be like a parent first and like have really put the brakes on like whatever amount of career work I'm doing. Because I feel indebted to my parents for doing the same thing. I feel like they really put their kids first in terms of like their, amount of hours in the day. So I'd want to do the same thing for kids, but I think that's probably like 8-9 years away. So I got some time.
All right, well, we'll end with the hardest hitting question that we fielded today, Phineas. Ashley wants to know, what was your favorite meal growing up?
Oh, I like it. I've been talking about this with my girlfriend a lot. This is so stupid. Have you ever had popovers?
Wait, yes.
Okay, so.
Wait, but I don't remember what they are.
Just so I don't like bastardize this, I'm gonna Google. Like what a recipe is, because like I was a kid, so I wasn't cooking them myself. They're unhealthy items. The ingredients are like 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 2 cups of flour, 3 tablespoons kosher salt, 3 extra large eggs at room temperature, cups of milk. They're basically like
I know these things.
Like eggy pancake muffin, like they're made in a muffin tin and they just rise because they're full of egg, and they're so bomb. And like in my now like almost decade of being like dairy free, like I don't do milk anymore because I'm allergic to it. Like there's no good substitute to popovers, and it is like pretty tragic. Like it's pretty sad. Because they're just, you know what I mean? It's just like it's not veganable. But I loved popovers. That was like, I feel like what you like as a kid, because it's like it's what you ask for like on your birthday for breakfast. You're like, can I have popovers? So that was like, now you've inspired me. I'm Googling vegan popovers. It's gonna just say you're shit out of luck.
No.
Yeah. Dairy-free recipe. I'm looking at like the photos of these and they look horrible. I'm looking at like vegan popover recipes. They look desperately bad.
Not it, man. Not it. All right, well, dude, thank you so much for doing this, and I'm glad you're staying safe and you're feeling healthier than it sounds like a couple weeks ago. And again, congrats on the success of this.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. It was really nice of you.
Talk soon, dude.
All right, take care.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell for all notifications from radio.com. While you're at it, why don't you check out some of our other great videos.